Torah Or Page, Chanukah, page 66, first column. Okay, now the Rebbe is explaining the connection between Ner Mitzvah, the candle of a mitzvah, and the candle of Torah. Both are called candles. So he says that when the Ner Hashem Nishma Sodom, he starts explaining like this, that when you have a flame, so you have, the flame is on the wick, but what actually burns is not the wick. What actually burns is the oil that's in the wick. So he says, there's two levels of a ner. Again, Ner Hashem Nishma Sodom, and then there's the candle of Hashem, which is the neshama, and the candle of Ner Mitzvah, which is a mitzvah. And he said before, he was explaining, there's the Aspaklaya Me'ira, meaning the magnifying glass, and then you have the mirror. Both are glasses. One is a mirror, one's a magnifying glass. So he's explaining now that the Ner Mitzvah, so the Rebbe explained the whole time, that what is Ner Mitzvah, when you deal with the mitzvah, Gashmiistic world, and you elevate the Gashmis, that's the not magnifying glass, that's the mirror one. But that's the mirror. He says, what's the advantage of a mirror over a magnifying glass? That you could see what's behind you. That you can't see that in a telescope or a magnifying glass going in front of you. So he says, the purpose of the neshama coming down is to reach that level of Or Chayzer. In other words, the neshama in Gan Eden is Aspaklaya Me'ira, and therefore it needs the garment because of mitzvah, because the kedusha is too great for the neshama to handle. So therefore, when you have the mitzvah, which is the combination of ruchnius and gashmius simultaneously, that allows a person in Gan Eden, a finite neshama, to be able to handle the infinite level of elokus.
What's the garment?
The mitzvahs that we do in this world. And he says normally a garment conceals. The mitzvah is a physical object, but only through the physical object can you reach a level that you wouldn't be able to reach otherwise. Okay? So he says, he starts, even in the candle, he said, there's a darker flame, and there's the blue and the yellow and the white, there's the darker and the lighter. Okay. So he says, okay, let's start again. The third line from the top. Hashem, and at the level of the oil. Like it says in the Zer about the Yanuk and Bala, Shem and Mishchas Chaytish, that the mitzvah is bringing down the holy oil of Chochmei Love and Elyon, which is, like you said, the highest levels of the Sfiris. But these mitzvahs, like you said, you do a mitzvah, you connect yourself to the highest levels of elokus. But that level that you're bringing down elokus of is through the physical mitzvah, which means therefore, to bring down an infinite God into a physical being, limited physical being, by definition physical is limited, by the way. So just like, and that's what he's saying, the neshama is called Ner Hashem and the mitzvahs are called Ner Hashem. In order to bring down a flame, to have a flame, you need the oil. But that itself is not going to light. You need the wick. What is the wick that brings down that kodesh into the physical thing? That is the neshama.
The other way around, the physical thing to kodesh.
But the neshama is what binds that highest level of elokus, which comes down into the physical aspect. So he says, the kedusha you bring down, that's the shemen. The flame you bring down, that's the level of the mitzvah down here. Who does that? That's the level of the neshama. And that's why Ner Hashem Nishma Sodom and Ner Mitzvah Torah Or. What is the Ner? He said basically the wick. Because without the wick, there is no flame. Like it says, literally the pasuk says the mitzvahs that a person does. But here the Alter Rebbe is defining it, not a mitzvah that a person does. Asher ya'asa in Hebrew means that he does, that he makes. the mitzvah which a person makes. In other words, a mitzvah can only be a mitzvah bringing down kedusha when the person does it. You have a mitzvah. If you don't do the mitzvah, there's no kedusha bring down. So not only is a person, actually these are mitzvahs the person has to do, the person is making the mitzvah happen, meaning he is bringing down the kedusha by doing the mitzvah. The mitzvah itself doesn't bring down kedusha. There's a mitzvah to put on tefillin. If you don't put on tefillin, there's no kedusha coming down. A person makes him into a mitzvah that he brings down a lukus. When it comes to the nations, in other words, like this: if a guy puts on tefillin, she's not allowed to, but let's say a guy puts on tefillin, or talis, he's not bringing down any kedusha into the world, because in order to, he's doing a mitzvah. The guy is putting on tefillin. Why can't he bring down kedusha in the world? The answer is because the wick that can hold the flame is the neshama. And because a guy doesn't have a nefesh shokis, he cannot bring down that level of kedusha. What? Women can only bring it down in the mitzvahs they're obligated to do. In other words, the reason why there's an expression from the Alter Rebbe Chassidus brings down. The Alter Rebbe says, "Ilu tzivanu lachtei veitzim." If God would command us to chop wood, chopping wood would bring down a tremendous level of kedusha into the world. Okay, now even though chopping wood is not bringing down anything, what brings it down? The fact that they're commanded to do it. They're commanded to do it. It doesn't matter what the mitzvah is. Like the Alter Rebbe said, if Hashem would have commanded us to chop wood, so that would also bring down kedusha, even though chopping wood in itself is worthless. It's the vart that Hashem commanded us to do it, that's what brings down the kedusha. Now, therefore, when somebody, like Ilavdal also, a guy is not commanded to do the mitzvah, but by them, because they don't have a neshama, even if they did the mitzvah, they're not going to do anything. Okay? Then you have women in the mitzvahs they're not obligated to do, and if they do them, the way the Ashkenazim hold, the way the Alter Rebbe Paskins and the old Ashkenazim hold like that, a woman can make a bracha on a mitzvah she's not obligated to do. So a woman is not obligated in Lulav and Esri, because it's a time-bound mitzvah, right? So, because it's a time-bound mitzvah, women are not obligated to do it. So according to the Rambam Taka and Shulchan Aruch, she's not allowed to make a mitzvah, a bracha on it. If she wants to shake, you can, shaking, you can shake whatever you want. You can shake a milkshake. You want to make a bracha, they hold a woman cannot make a bracha. This is what the Rambam holds. That a woman cannot make a bracha on a mitzvah she's not obligated in. Huh? Yeah. She's allowed to make a bracha. That's the Sfarim hold you're not allowed to. Okay? Now, why? So, the question is, if she's not obligated, we're saying that what makes the kedusha is the fact that you're obligated, and yet we're saying a woman can make a bracha when she's not obligated, right? So, by the way, this is halacha what I'm saying now, not only chassidus. Why? So why could a woman make a bracha? Shekitshanu b'mitzvahs v'tzivanu. That he sanctified and he commanded us. So why could a woman make a? Why isn't the bracha in vain? Because she wasn't commanded. The fact that a Jew was commanded. So in other words, there's a concept of being commanded to do a mitzvah and doing it, and there's an aspect of not being commanded to do a mitzvah and do it. Now, obviously, the Gemara has a question about it, and the Gemara rules that when you're obligated to do a mitzvah and you do it, it's greater than when you're not obligated. It's greater. but you're still accomplished by doing a mitzvah you're not obligated to do. So when a woman, let's say, benches lulav, when a woman benches lulav or stukah, whatever it is, the mitzvah, she makes a bracha and that she's not obligated to do, and she does it. So what happens then is she's still bringing down kedusha, but not as one who's obligated, one who's not obligated and does it. But because she has a neshama, she does bring down kedusha. Not as much as one who is obligated to do it and doesn't.
What about if somebody does the mitzvah, does the bracha on the lulav, but his mind is elsewhere, he's doing out of
As long as he's generally knows what he's doing, it's good. So therefore, but a woman has an neshama. So therefore, if a guy would do lulav, he wouldn't be allowed to make a bracha. I mean, she bringing down kedusha, but not as much as one who's obligated to do it and doesn't. Why? So the explanation is very simple. You know the difference between a volunteer and a paid worker. A volunteer wants to do it, but they don't have to do it. They don't want to do it, they don't do it. They want to do it one day, they'll do it. Yeah. So then, to give us the way the Gemara explains it, the Chassidus elaborates on it. If I'm not obligated to do it, my Yetzer Hara doesn't waste his time with me. You're not obligated to do it anyway. Why convince you not to do it? You don't have to do it. So the Yetzer Hara lets you alone. So one who's obligated in the mitzvah, but there the Yetzer Hara tries to get you to say, don't do it. So where is there more Yetzer Hara fighting you doing a mitzvah? When you're obligated to do it. When you're not obligated to do it, you're a volunteer, so to speak. You're volunteering to do a mitzvah. Why should the Yetzer Hara get in your way? Why is it? It used to be like that. It changed already. When kids were young, they wanted to fast, the whole fast, and they wanted to do mitzvahs. The older guys would say, oh God, let me alone. Let's forget the fast day, let's go eat. And the kids, no, they wanted to fast. They wanted to stay up a whole night shvuas. Today it's a whole different world. Kids don't want to do that anymore either. But years ago, why? Why the old people have a problem staying up a whole night and fasting and all, and the kids didn't have a problem? It's very simple. The old people have a Yetzer Hara that tells them not to do it. And the kids don't have the Yetzer Hara. But they still bring down the level of kedusha. Not the same.
So what's the soul the woman put tefillin?
Huh? I don't hear you.
What's the soul the woman put tefillin today?
They don't. They're not tefillin?
By the prophet.
You mean women off the wall?
Off the wall?
Off the wall. They're not allowed to put on tefillin today. And they're not allowed to wear tzitzis today. It's interesting. And this is, you see, clear exactly where it's coming from. Those people that want to put on tefillin, I know we're going off topic, a little Lashon Hara. The women that put on tefillin, they don't keep Shabbos properly. They don't keep kashrus properly. They don't do the mitzvahs they have to do properly. Or they want to put on tefillin. Why? There's nothing to do with a mitzvah. Because if you do a mitzvah, because Hashem said so, and here Hashem says, you're not supposed to, and I'll explain to you why in a minute, you're not supposed to, so then it has nothing to do with God. Those mitzvahs God told you to do, you don't keep properly. It's a different thing.
Different religion.
Equality, it's the concept of equality that you're telling me I can't put on, I'm not good enough to put on, they have it all warped. They say, you're telling me I'm not good enough to put on tefillin? I'm going to show you. It has nothing to do with God. Because the mitzvahs God tells them to do, they don't keep. One minute. Why? So the question is, why don't they have to do it? They're right. From a goyish perspective. Yeah, I don't have to do it means I'm not good enough to do it. The answer is just the opposite. A man who is imperfect needs the mitzvah to make him perfect. The women who are not obligated in the mitzvah, Chassidus explains, not chas v'sholom, they're lacking in that particular mitzvah. They don't need that mitzvah to connect them to Hashem. Women don't need tefillin to connect them to Hashem. So why are women not allowed to put on tefillin today? There's two reasons. Number one, why don't you find a kid, puts on tzitzis at the age of 3, makes brachas at the age of 3. Why didn't you put on tefillin at the age of 5? Put on tefillin at the age of 5. You're 2 months before bar mitzvah to train him, or as they would say in yeshiva, to learn him how to put on tefillin. Okay? You teach him then. Why doesn't he put it on the 10 or 9 or 8? All the other mitzvahs he does. Because tefillin are so holy and need proper mindset the whole time. You can't have foreign thoughts, and you can't have this, and you can't pass gas, and you can't burp, and you can't... So halacha says, if you're not obligated in it, you're not supposed to do it. Mela, man who's obligated to do it, they have no choice. We have to do it, so we have to do it. But if you're not obligated in doing it, so then halacha says it's too holy to put on. Just and therefore halacha says it goes more. Therefore, Rebbe doesn't bring this down, but other poskim say that because tefillin is a man's garment now, women are not supposed to wear tefillin. So therefore, if a woman wears tefillin, they're transgressing the negative commandment of a woman wearing a man's garment.
That's tzitzit, not tefillin.
Tzitzit and tefillin, both.
What's the difference between tefillin and lulav? They're not.
Because lulav, there's no big deal. You can shake it. There's no kedusha that you can't wear it.
But they're not besimanim. They're not. Hashem didn't give them the besimanim for the lulav.
So I'm saying in Shneur, you know where the source of women making a bracha or not, the Ashkenazim, is by tzitzis. In Shneur, but then Shneur says a reason why they shouldn't. Because even a man is not obligated in wearing tzitzis. There's no mitzvah in the Torah, you must wear tzitzis every day. Torah says, if you have a 4-cornered garment, you need to wear tzitzis. If you don't have a 4-cornered garment, you don't need to. There's a mitzvah in the Torah of shechita. Yeah? There's a mitzvah I have to go shecht? No. Torah says, you want to eat meat? You have to shecht. You don't want to eat meat? There's no mitzvah shechting. There's a mitzvah in the Torah get. a get. To write a get. What, is it a mitzvah divorce? No. If you want to break the marriage, you need a get. So the same thing with, but nevertheless, therefore it says like this, men even don't have to wear tzitzis. So if a woman who's not obligated to wear tzitzis wears tzitzis, that means it's show-offy. It's show-off. And you're not supposed to be a show-off. A mitzvah men have to do, then a woman could do it. But nowadays, therefore Shneur says women should not wear tzitzis. Therefore, when women wear tzitzis, they're transgressing the negative commandment of not wearing a man's garment. Same thing with tefillin. What?
Well, I see these people that wear the tefillin all day long.
Not everybody is excited about that.
There are people.
Yeah, and you actually saw the yeshivas that the bachim where you see them running around the streets with tefillin on. Not years ago, people used to wear tefillin the whole day. Especially when it's learning, but nowadays we don't do it.
You said body is holy.
Body? Yeah.
It is holy?
The body?
Yeah.
God chose it.
Why is it holy? It's just a means for the neshama. It's like me buy a car and the car takes me do this mitzvah, takes me to do that mitzvah. The car is not holy.
You elevated the car, yeah.
But the car is not holy. I am holy. I am the one who does the mitzvah.
Yeah, you could bring a car into the bathroom. It's not holy. Let me ask you a question. A Jew is holy?
Yeah.
How are you allowed to walk into a bathroom? No, serious. You're holy. Everything is God. God is everything, right? How are you allowed to go into the bathroom? Because it's not the concept of holy. Your neshama can go into the bathroom too. Neshama is a part of God. I'll take it even a step further. There's no place God doesn't exist? Does God exist in the bathroom? How could that be? Because the existence of the bathroom is dependent on God's being there. But that doesn't mean, is the body of a Jew holy? Yes. A body of a Jew is holy. That's why you purify it when they pass away and you bury it in the ground. And the body is, like we learned, the source of the body is even higher than the source of the neshama. It's even higher than the source of the neshama. So it is holy. Not only that, Chassidus explains, when it says, the Rebbe says in Tanya, when God chose us from all nations, what did he choose? Choosing means two things are identical and you choose one over the next. If there's gold and dirt and you say, I choose gold over dirt, that's not free choice. Gold is better than dirt. A Yiddish in neshama and a Goyish in neshama, the Yiddish in neshama is much greater. So when God chose it. So the Rebbe says in Tanya, God did, the Atev Chatonu is not on the neshama. It's on the body. A nidma b'chumr yusam that looks outwardly like the body of a goy, besides the nose maybe. Then it's still that which is equal to things, body of a Jew and body of a goy. God shows that this body is Jewish and this body is not Jewish. The Chassidim explain, it's brought down, but that Hashem chose, the Rabbeim chose, which neshamas should be connected to Chassidus. They chose, the Rebbe chose which neshamas are connected to Chassidus. Huh? Wow.
That's what Rabbi Rasha blessed all the Talmud.
The Mimim. He said they were chosen to be in Neiris Lahoyim. They were chosen to be to have a shlichus of illuminate a candle to illuminate the world. Okay.
Wow.